My roommate found an unknown liquid left by the school bully in her cup. I advised her to report it to the police, but she blushed with shyness. Jack just likes me too much. Later, she was beaten and imprisoned by the school bully, but she ended up hating me for it. It's all your fault. Why didn't you insist on letting me call the police back then, after being killed by her in her madness? I returned to the day she asked me, "What's in the cup?" I knew nothing when asked, and remained silent with every answer. I died in the abandoned cafeteria of the old campus, clothes torn to shreds, body covered in bruises. Lena was laughing hysterically beside her. "Stella, you deserve this. If only you had tried a little harder to persuade me back then, I wouldn't have hesitated to call the police. I became what I am today, all thanks to you." She doused the cafeteria with gasoline and casually tossed a lighter at me. Boom, blazing flames shot up into the sky, and I was left with no intact body. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day the nightmare began. "Stella, what is this floating in the cup?" Lena's puzzled voice brought me back to my thoughts. I suddenly opened my eyes, then felt ecstatic. Even God must have thought I died unjustly, actually letting me be reborn. This time, facing Lena's inquiry, I withdrew my gaze, looking completely bewildered. "I don't know. Maybe it's someone's joke." Lena's expression turned grim as she looked around. In the end, she still held my hand uneasily. "Stella, can you come with me to check the surveillance room? I feel a chill down my spine. I'm so scared." I almost laughed out loud. In my previous life, I advised her to check the surveillance footage, but she found me troublesome and said it was better to avoid unnecessary trouble. Now that I no longer advise her, she has started to feel afraid. Does she want me to accompany her to the surveillance room? No way. I withdrew my hand and covered my stomach. "I'm sorry, Lena, I'm not feeling well, so I can't accompany you." Upon hearing this, Lena's frown deepened. "You were fine just a moment ago. How did you suddenly get a stomachache?" I looked innocent. "I don't know either. Maybe I ate something bad. Don't worry about me. Go check the surveillance footage." With that said, I slumped over the desk, pretending to be weak. Lena kept looking back as she left the study room. Taking advantage of this moment, I quickly got up and started packing my things, ready to head back to the dorm. This time around, I'm going to stay out of it and watch the crazy couple stay locked together forever. Unfortunately, in less than 2 minutes, Lena came back with a beaming smile. Behind her, followed the laid-back Jack. Jack is the notorious school bully in our college. He is perverse and moody. His most famous feat was sneaking up on a minor school administrator in the dark and hitting him with a liquor bottle, then getting away unscathed. The reason? Simply because that person had suggested that freshmen should spend an hour in the classroom for evening self-study. Because of this, countless troublemakers flocked to him, and he became an overnight legend, a big shot who could call the shots on campus. That's why, in our previous life, when we discovered in the surveillance room that it was Jack who had put something in the cup, I would not hesitate to advise Lena to call the police. Being targeted by such a person will not lead to a good outcome, but I never expected that Lena is not a normal person at all. Not only did she not call the police, but she actually took pride in it. She thought this was a classic trope in Mary Sue novels, the place where her love story with the school bully began. Otherwise, why would Jack only put something in my cup? She looked at me disdainfully. He's interested in me. I was speechless at the time. You can't save someone who's determined to ruin themselves. I swore I would never interfere in their affairs again, but I never expected that because of the words I said to encourage her to call the police, Lena ended up resenting me after Jack beat her later. She felt that if I had tried harder to persuade her, she might have agreed to call the police. Then she wouldn't have been bullied and abused by Jack every day. She was convinced that I was the one who ruined her life. Never reflect on whether you have any issues yourself. In the end, they even teamed up with Jack to kill me. My death can't just be called inexplicable. It's even more unjust than anyone. Every time I think about this, I wish I could slap my past self twice. Mind your own business. Stop being such a do-gooder. This time, not only will I not interfere with Lena's business, but I'll also add fuel to the fire between her and that scumbag. To avoid blowing my cover, I reluctantly asked a question against my conscience. "Weren't you checking the surveillance footage? How come you're back so soon?" Lena smiled shyly and explained that she had run into her senior on the way, who was looking for an empty seat, so she brought him along. "As for the surveillance, we'll talk about it next time." She then looked at me and asked, "Stella, is your stomach no longer hurting?" I shook my head and forced a weak smile. "I'm still not feeling well. I think I'll go to the infirmary." Lena breathed a sigh of relief and pulled Jack over. "Senior, since my roommate has something to do, why don't you sit here, then, to play the role of the kind and innocent girl in front of the school bully. She even hypocritically walked me to the library entrance. That evening, she did not return home. She and Jack officially announced their relationship on social media. The smile on my face grew wider and wider. Lena, just go ahead and date him. One mention and they fall silent. This time, when she is wantonly insulted by the unrestrained Jack, who will she blame? How exciting. Under Jack's influence, Lena started skipping classes frequently, getting into fights, and staying out all night. The other roommates had tried to advise her, but Lena scoffed at them. Wearing a revealing miniskirt and sporting a light smoky eye makeup, she sneered, "What do you know? This is the kind of shining youth a novel's heroine should have." Seeing this, the other roommates had no choice but to let her be. As for me, I quietly recalled the major events from my past life and coldly watched Lena bring about her own downfall. That day, she returned to the dorm with heavy makeup and a few admission tickets. "Here, take these, it's Jack's birthday, and he's inviting everyone to a party at Mesmer Bar." The other roommates were utterly shocked. "Oh my god. Isn't that the high-end bar rumored to cost tens of thousands just to book for one night? Jack is so rich." Even if everyone dislikes Jack, at this moment, they genuinely admire his ability to spend money. Lena flaunted her newly done bright red manicure and said indifferently, "What's the big deal? It's just a few $1,000s. As she spoke, she handed us those few admission tickets as if bestowing a favor. "Everyone should go, to show some face for me and also give Jack some respect." The other roommates exchanged glances, looking hesitant. "After all, we're still students, isn't it a bit inappropriate for us to go to such a place?" Lena sneered, "With that kind of mindset, you'll never achieve anything great. What's the big deal about going? Do you think others are going to eat you alive?" I chuckled to myself. Does Lena really think that dating a trendy guy makes her part of the upper class? Contrary to my usual self, I reached out and took it without hesitation. "Of course we're going. How could we miss such a great opportunity to broaden our horizons?" Lena nodded with satisfaction. "See, Stella gets it." Seeing this, the other roommates no longer hesitated and all agreed. After deciding on the meeting spot for that day, everyone went to bed. As usual, Lena swayed her hips and went out. Not returning for the night again, I watched her back and sneered coldly. "Lena probably doesn't know yet that Jack has an unattainable white moonlight, does she? In a few days, at the party, it will be the anniversary of the first time she was beaten to a pulp by Jack for angering his white moonlight. How could I miss such a satisfying day? Moreover, this time I'm going to send Jack straight to hell along with her." The show is about to begin. Jack's birthday happened to fall on a Saturday. Lena started urging us to get ready very early. Everyone should put on some makeup. Going barefaced is so boring. Jack has many handsome friends among his circle. You're the ones I'm bringing along, so don't make me lose face. As she said this, Lena picked up her powder puff and was about to pat it on everyone's faces. The roommates all chuckled awkwardly and dodged her. "Let's do it ourselves. We'll handle it ourselves." Lena nodded with satisfaction. Then pulled 3 sequin dresses from her bag and handed them to everyone. "Here, don't say I never look out for you. I specially picked these dresses for you. Spent quite a bit of money on them." I took a look at the sequin skirt, which had a wholesale price of less than 10 yuan, and my lips twitched. The skirt was not only short but also revealing. The chest connection was even shaped like a small hollow heart, making it look tacky and cheap. The other roommates also had strange expressions. "Lena, this skirt is way too short. Let's just wear our own clothes." Lena pouted. "What's wrong with it being short? How can someone so young have such old-fashioned ideas? The Qing dynasty fell over 100 years ago. Why can't we women in the new era have the freedom to dress as we please? We should be brave enough to show off our figures and be confident and generous. Look at you all, usually neither dressing up nor going out. How can you have sweet love like me?" Seeing Lena's words becoming more and more outrageous, it seemed as if we weren't worthy of being women if we didn't wear this dress today. I sneered inwardly. As if everyone didn't know what kind of scheme she was plotting, I pretended to hesitate and casually asked, "Lena, I think what you said makes a lot of sense. So, what kind of dress are you planning to wear? Why don't you show it to everyone for reference?" Seeing my eager expression, the other roommates also caught on and asked in confusion, "Yeah, Lena, your boyfriend's birthday is today. What are you planning to wear to surprise him?" Lena's face stiffened slightly as she tried to change the subject. "Oh, what's so interesting about my dress? You've already seen everything in my wardrobe. It's the same old stuff going back and forth. It's more important to help you all get dressed up, but everyone's not foolish or naive. How could they be so easily fooled, a few days ago? Lena even asked another roommate to pick up a whole bunch of packages from the courier station. There's no way she didn't prepare anything. Seeing everyone silently staring at her, Lena knew she couldn't brush it off anymore. Besides, she still had to change and go to the bar with us later. There was no way to avoid it. She reluctantly pulled out a red dress from the wardrobe. Her eyes were wandering, but she still stubbornly said, "This one, nothing special about it." Everyone was almost amused by her ability to lie with a straight face. The dress she prepared for herself was far from ordinary. It practically screamed scheming right on her face. Not only was the fabric of high quality, but the dress also featured intricate patterns, with lace trims at the cuffs, hem, and chest. Most importantly, this skirt is knee-length, compared to the ultra-short dresses she prepared for everyone. The fabric from 3 skirts combined would barely be enough to make this one of hers. Another roommate couldn't help but laugh and spoke up to taunt her. "Lena, you're really going all out for your boyfriend's birthday, but why don't you dress as freely as you claim and choose a miniskirt that shows off your charm?" Lena sneered and stuffed the skirt back into the closet. "What's the big deal? If you don't want to wear it, then don't. It's not like I'm forcing you, right?" After all that commotion, no one really wanted to go anymore, considering it was something we had previously agreed to, and given Jack's reputation as the school bully, everyone had no choice but to swallow their pride. Taking advantage of Lena stepping out to use the restroom, I proposed, "Although we are all adults, we do lack real-world experience. Judging by the situation, Lena will probably drag us into staying out all night, just to be safe. We should let our friends or close ones know in advance, have them call us before curfew so we have an excuse to leave early." My roommate's eyes lit up, giving me a thumbs up before contacting their friends to coordinate. After ensuring our safety, everyone finally started getting ready. The teenage years and early 20s are naturally the most beautiful time for girls. Everyone didn't need to put in much effort, yet they looked much more beautiful than usual. At this moment, Lena also returned. "Girls, are you ready? We're about to head out." When she saw our faces, the smile on her face suddenly froze. "Why, are you wearing such heavy makeup?" The roommates looked at each other. "What do you mean heavy? We're all wearing light makeup." Lena frowned. "You all don't wear makeup often enough, and it doesn't look good at all. Let me help you with it." I sneered inwardly. Lena wanted to bring everyone along to support her, but she didn't want her spotlight to be stolen. What a complicated way to live. The other 2 roommates finally caught on. "I usually don't like wearing makeup anyway, and besides, a bar isn't the safest place. Now, with this topic, it's the perfect excuse to take it off." After nearly an hour or 2 of fussing, by the time we actually went out, aside from Lena who was all dressed up, the rest of us didn't look much different from usual, because of the time spent putting on and then removing makeup. We ended up being over 10 minutes late. Before getting out of the car, Lena repeatedly emphasized to everyone, "You guys have to back me up later." We just smiled without saying a word. The bar Jack chose was quite popular in the university district, and by the time we arrived, it was packed with people. The smell of smoke, alcohol, and perfume mixed together was nauseating with just one whiff. As soon as I entered, my roommates all had unpleasant expressions on their faces. Exchanging glances and preparing to find an opportunity to slip away. Who would have thought Lena would act as if nothing was wrong, even giving us a smug look? "Jack has many friends and brothers, so if any of you run into trouble in the future, you can always come to me. As roommates, I won't stand by and watch you suffer." If it weren't for the fact that we were surrounded by Jack's people, we would have burst out laughing. Just because of these spirited young guys with colorful hair and tattoo-covered arms. As we were talking, today's protagonist, Jack, arrived, probably to appear more solemn. He had deliberately dressed up for the occasion, floral shirt, suit pants, even his hair was slicked back with pomade, styled into a big slick-back look. It couldn't exactly be called ugly, but there was just a comical sense of something being off everywhere you looked. He familiarly wrapped his arm around Lena's waist. "You must be Lena's roommates. Lena often talks about you. Lena usually causes everyone trouble in the dorm. Today is my birthday, so everyone, eat and drink to your heart's content. It's on me." Upon hearing this, Lena playfully punched his chest and said shyly, "What are you talking about? I don't cause anyone trouble." Jack laughed heartily and gave her a kiss on the cheek, and we, who witnessed all of this, ugh, that's an eyesore. The bar was dimly lit, with men and women dancing closely together on the dance floor. None of the roommates had ever seen such a scene before, and they all felt a bit uncomfortable. They found an empty booth, sat down, and immediately started playing on their phones. Lena, on the other hand, was completely at ease, flitting through the crowd like a butterfly. She greeted this person with a drink, offered that one some food, carrying herself with the air of a hostess. Before long, she and Jack brought 3 guys over and sat down next to us. Lena smiled meaningfully. Come on, everyone, let's get to know each other. These are Jack's 3 best brothers. Seeing that you're not comfortable, they came specifically to keep you company. After saying that, she leaned in and winked at us. She whispered, "Don't say I don't take care of you. These are all handsome guys, so you better seize the opportunity. Isn't that how it always goes in novels?" After the female lead and male lead get together, their close friends naturally end up together too. I never considered you outsiders. With those words, Lena's strange behavior tonight, making us put on makeup and dress up, suddenly made sense. So, she wanted to play matchmaking literature with us. As for these so-called good brothers of Jack, they act all high and mighty but are just a bunch of troublemakers. I bet they're just Jack's lackeys, pairing the male lead with the female lead. And the second, third, and fourth male characters with the second, third, and fourth female characters. Lena really has it all figured out. Unfortunately, I was already prepared. The 3 boys sat down beside us, with ill intentions written all over their faces. Hey, we're Jack's roommates, interested in having a drink. I stepped in front of my 2 roommates, smiled, and pulled a stun gun out of my bag, pressed the switch, and the electric current crackles with a sizzling sound. Great. I've been practicing self-defense techniques lately. Which of you seniors would like to spar with me? The smiles on their faces froze, and they instinctively leaned back in their seats. Hey, Junior, what are you doing? We're just chatting. Why are you bringing out such a dangerous weapon for no reason? A bold one reached out to try and push the electric shock baton away. I tilted my head, feigning innocence. Ah, didn't Lena tell you? I've been practicing Taekwondo for 5 or 6 years. And I love sparring with people in my free time. I grabbed the man's hand. Senior, I feel like we have a connection. How about you give it a try? Lena hardly ever stayed in the dorm, so how would she know whether I had trained or not? Her face was completely stiff at that moment. Wait. I just remembered there's something I haven't finished. I should get going now. The 3 of them hastily made excuses to leave, shooting Lena a fierce glare before they went. Jack sat nearby, swirling the glass in his hand, neither approving nor disapproving of his subordinate's behavior. Lena felt embarrassed and forced a smile, saying, "Oh, my memory is so bad. How could I have forgotten to mention this?" I interrupted her, laughing as I changed the subject. If you ask me, Lena is truly the chosen heroine of a novel. Not only are she and Jack a perfect match in talent and appearance, but even their blood type is so rare it's called panda blood. If this were in a novel, wouldn't she be the perfect, stunning female lead? Jack was taken aback for a moment, then became interested. Oh, why hasn't Lena ever mentioned it? Lena shyly nestled into his arms. Actually, it's nothing particularly worth boasting about. Jack frowned disapprovingly. This won't do. Your blood type is so rare. If anything were to happen to you, what would I do? Lena was deeply moved, but I secretly laughed to myself. Lena, from now on, every moment Jack torments you. Don't you dare regret admitting your blood type today. The news that I pulled a stun gun from my bag spread quickly at the party. For the rest of the time, no one dared to hit on us. My roommates and I enjoyed the peace and quiet, planning to leave early and head back to school after a little while longer. Jack, on the other hand, became inexplicably restless, frequently checking his watch. In the end, he simply left, leaving everyone exchanging puzzled glances. He still hadn't returned by the time the 3-tiered cake was wheeled in. Lena forced a smile and said, "It's fine, Jack probably has something to attend to. Let's go ahead and eat. I know who Jack is waiting for, his unattainable white moonlight, Mia." According to memories from the previous life, Mia should have arrived long ago. Later, Lena was brutally beaten by Jack because she was competing with her for his affection, but this time, something seems different. It seems I need to make some adjustments to my plan as well. As my thoughts returned, the entire room was unusually quiet. I looked up in confusion and saw everyone's gaze fixed on the door. Mia is here. She stood at the door, holding a gift box and wearing a white dress. "Excuse me, is Jack here?" Even though she wasn't dressed up, she effortlessly captured everyone's attention. Lena, who had dressed up meticulously, was completely overshadowed. Lena's face turned green with anger as she strode forward. With a forced smile, she asked, "Hello, I'm Jack's girlfriend. Is there anything I can help you convey?" Mia nodded slightly and said, "It's fine, I'll just wait here for a while." Lena, however, was not pleased and stopped her from entering. Do you really know Jack? How come I've never seen you before? Are you some shady person trying to sneak in and steal something? A few subordinates who knew the inside story hesitated about whether to step forward. One is the new sister-in-law, the other is the white moonlight the boss can't forget. No matter who you help, you'll end up offending the other. It's a thankless task. For a moment, no one stepped forward to break up the fight. Although Mia has the appearance of a white moonlight, her personality isn't as fragile as one might imagine. She looked at Lena's outfit for a moment and gave a faint smile. This dress is the latest from Chanel, right? It's just that the color of your dress isn't quite right. It might be a defective piece. I happen to know one of their sales associates. Would you like me to help you contact their after-sales service? As soon as these words were spoken, many of the girls present couldn't help but chuckle quietly. I'm amused too. This is a roundabout way of scolding Lena for buying fake goods. Lena's face turned pale and then flushed, looking extremely unpleasant. Finally, she let out a sharp scream and suddenly lunged at Mia. Where did this vixen come from, dressed so nicely? Who are you trying to seduce? Watch me teach you a lesson today. No one expected Lena to start hitting someone at the slightest disagreement, and everyone was stunned. As the two pushed and shoved, Lena fell to the ground, and the gift box in her hand fell with a crash, shattering the glass items inside all over the floor. But Lena still felt unsatisfied and raised her hand, ready to slap Mia again. A hand suddenly tightly grasped her wrist. Jack's face was gloomy, his eyes fixed intently on Lena. What are you doing? The onlooking underlings all shuddered involuntarily, quietly stepping back, trying to make myself less noticeable. Lena didn't react in time, still pointing at Mia's nose and cursing. Jack, don't stop me. This little bitch is up to no good. I'm here to help you. Enough. Who the hell are you calling a bitch? Snap. Jack slapped Lena across the face with the back of his hand. The force was immense, and the sound was sharp and clear. The entire room fell silent. Without stopping, Jack flung Lena harshly to the ground and strode directly toward Mia. He carefully helped Mia up, his face full of tenderness and concern. Are you okay? Mia shook her head, only to gaze at the shattered glass on the ground with a faint sigh. What a pity about the gift I prepared for you. Jack followed her gaze and his breath caught. He had an even worse expression for Lena. What are you just sitting there for? You've turned a perfectly good birthday party into a complete mess. Hurry up and help me see the guests out. I'm really sorry about today. I'll invite everyone out another time to make it up. Even without Jack saying anything, everyone had been wanting to slip away for a while. Who knows if staying here might lead to accidental harm. Lena struggled to get up, forced a smile, and saw everyone out. As they were about to leave, her roommate whispered, should we persuade Lena to go back? I feel like Jack's expression just now was a bit off. I smiled and said, a normal person in this situation wouldn't need anyone to persuade them to leave. But not only did she stay, she even eagerly helped Jack see off the guests. Besides, have you forgotten that she just tried to introduce us to those spiritual young men? If you want to persuade her, go ahead. Kind words can't save someone determined to ruin themselves. I'm not getting involved anyway, my roommate said resentfully. You're right, let her do whatever she wants. But, I turned back and glanced thoughtfully at Mia, who was hanging her head. I always feel that she is different from her previous life too. Lena returned just 1 second before the dormitory lights went out. When we heard the sound of the door opening, everyone was a bit surprised and quietly lifted their curtains to look down. After seeing Lena's face clearly in the dim light of the corridor, everyone fell silent. Lena's cheeks were badly swollen, and blood was seeping from the corner of her mouth. Her once carefully styled hair was now a mess, making her look utterly miserable. She silently changed her clothes and got into bed. Soon after, soft sobbing sounds could be heard in the dorm room. In the small group chat with only 3 people, a roommate asked, "Oh my God, this counts as domestic violence, right? Jack is such a jerk, Lena is so pitiful." I withdrew my gaze and quietly closed the curtain. I scoffed at the sympathetic views about Lena in the small group chat. Is it tragic? Perhaps, but it's not even a fraction of what I felt watching the flames consume me. That burning pain is something I will never forget for the rest of my life. Besides, was Lena forced into any of this from start to finish? It was she who walked step by step onto the path of no return. And it has nothing to do with anyone else. Such a person is simply not worthy of sympathy. I coldly turned off the screen. Just wait, Lena, my revenge has only just begun. After that day, Lena became much quieter. In the dorm, she became withdrawn and no longer showed her sharp edges, nor did she stay out all night anymore. The roommates privately discussed that after this incident, Lena would surely change for the better and break up with Jack, but I knew it wasn't that simple at all. Lena couldn't bear to give up the sense of identity and status that Jack brought her. It was only a matter of time before she got back together with Jack. Sure enough, one weekend a week later, a drone suddenly flew onto our dormitory balcony. It startled my roommate who was hanging clothes on the balcony. The drone wasn't large, and its mechanical arm was holding a big gift box. A pink letter was clipped onto the gift box. It says, "Lena, I'm sorry, please forgive me." The roommate initially wanted to pretend not to see it and avoid getting involved in the mess, but the next second, the drone started speaking. "Hello, classmate, I'm Lena's boyfriend. Could you please call her out for me?" Wow, it even has real-time voice capabilities. Having said that much, the roommate had no choice but to agree and reluctantly went in to call Lena. Lena had already noticed the commotion on the balcony and looked expectant, but when her roommate called her out, she started putting on an act again, pretending not to care and saying, "I'm not going out. If Jack has the guts, let him come up and find me." The roommate clenched their fist, but in the end, smiled and went back to the balcony to relay Lena's words. The drone fell silent for a moment. Then its mechanical arm loosened, the gift box and letter landed steadily on the balcony railing. "All right then, could you please help me pass this gift and letter to Lena?" Then the drone slowly took off, the swirling dust blowing right into the roommate's face. She was expressionlessly about to carry the box inside when Lena suddenly darted out of the dorm room and snatched it away. "Roommate, no, if you wanted it just now, why didn't you come out?" Lena said confidently. "If I forgave him so quickly, wouldn't I lose face? How could a single dog like you understand the push and pull between us adults?" The roommate took a deep breath and fell silent. Lena happily opened the box and proudly showed everyone the gifts Jack had prepared for her. "Look, aren't these accessories and clothes just beautiful?" After hesitating for a long time, the roommate finally spoke up, "But after the way he treated you last time, are you really going to stay with him?" The smile on Lena's face froze. "It's nothing, he was just drunk that night. He mistook that girl for me. He was trying to stand up for me. Jack has feelings for me, I know it." After the first attempt to show goodwill by giving a gift failed, Jack did not give up. He began posting apology messages on the confession wall, saying that he had made a mistake and upset Lena. He hoped that when classmates saw Lena, they could help persuade her. Not only that, he also filled the playground with flowers for several nights in a row, shouting across the distance to Lena, begging for forgiveness. This grand and public display made Lena the center of attention at school, giving her a moment of fame as if she were the heroine of a novel. She quickly forgot the miserable state she was in after Jack beat her black and blue. Instead, she responded sarcastically to the well-intentioned advice from her other roommates. "You're just jealous that I found such a great boyfriend. If he didn't like me, why would he do so much for me?" But I knew that Jack only approached Lena in the first place because of a bet with his friends, and later, it was because he was drawn to her rare panda blood type. Her blood type is exactly the same as Mia's, the white moonlight. I curled the corner of my lips. "Lena, are you ready to endure a life worse than death as a mobile blood bag?" After Lena and Jack got back together, everything returned to how it was before. She continued staying out all night, skipping classes, and often couldn't be found for an entire day. And because a homeless person of unknown origin was recently found on campus, the school leadership decided to organize a large-scale dormitory inspection and security patrol. On the day of the inspection, the advisor repeatedly emphasized that everyone must return to their dormitories on time, but Lena still went her own way, not answering calls or replying to messages. "It's almost time to check our dorm, and Lena still hasn't returned." The roommates were anxiously pacing around. "What should we do, Stella? We won't get a formal reprimand, will we?" I reassured them. "It's fine, the advisor knows about Lena's situation. Even if there's blame, it won't fall on us." As they were speaking, the counselor came in with a female leader, and everyone immediately fell silent, greeting them with smiles. The female leader scanned the room and frowned. "Why is one person missing?" The counselor's face instantly darkened as she looked at us. The dorm leader reluctantly replied, "We really couldn't get in touch with her, and we don't know where she went." The counselor immediately started calling Lena's phone, but it rang for a long time with no answer. The female leader frowned and stepped forward to check the name and student ID by her bedside. "Lena. Is she the one who was being pursued so fervently by Professor James's son a while ago?" "It's her." The female leader's frown deepened. "Whoever it is, we must be mindful of the impact. This is a school, after all, not a place for romantic affairs." The counselor nodded repeatedly and hurriedly escorted the female leader out. The roommates breathed a sigh of relief, and I smiled, casually playing with the capybara figurine on the desk. It's not that easy to resolve this matter. Lena refused to let go even after being hit, and it wasn't just because she's blindly in love. Most importantly, Jack was rumored to be incredibly impressive at school, and everyone speculated whether he came from a wealthy family. Lena dreams of marrying into a rich family through him, fantasizing about achieving sudden wealth and success. But in fact, Jack's father was merely a professor in a certain department at the school. Previously, he had assaulted a school administrator but avoided punishment solely because of his father's influence, and the female administrator from earlier happened to have a grudge against Jack's father. About 10 minutes later, the academic advisor returned with a grim expression. "Do you really not know where Lena is?" Everyone exchanged glances and shook their heads one after another. The counselor slammed the table in anger. "I don't believe she won't come back all night. I'm waiting right here today. You guys, keep calling her." Everyone looked at each other. "You have to understand, Lena is bold enough to stay out all night, and no one can guarantee whether she'll actually come back tonight. But, I can assure you," I gave everyone a reassuring look. Before long, Lena's phone finally got through. Lena's anxious and impatient voice came through the speaker. "What the hell do you want? Stop calling me." Before the roommate could say anything, the other party quickly hung up. From the sound of it, it seemed like something urgent had happened. The advisor's expression changed, worried that something might have happened to Lena, and began pacing anxiously around our dorm room. Just as everyone was hesitating whether to call the police, the counselor's phone also rang. My eyes lit up. Lena and Jack had finally been discovered. In the panic, the counselor accidentally tapped the speakerphone. The security guard's voice echoed through the small dorm room. "Teacher, please come and pick them up right away. We were patrolling near the abandoned cafeteria when we heard strange noises inside. Upon checking, we found your students in there. Oh my, they didn't even have all their clothes on when they tried to run away. My colleague and I managed to catch them, and they're now at the security booth." Snap, the counselor's phone fell to the ground. The expressions on the faces of the roommates were almost blank. In the end, it was the counselor who broke the silence first. "Can someone pinch me? Am I dreaming?" The counselor was certainly not dreaming, because in the previous life, there was also such a scene. At that time, the counselor had been waiting for Lena but couldn't find her, so they mobilized everyone to search together. When I passed by the abandoned cafeteria, I saw Jack and Lena engaging in illicit relations inside. After I caught them, they showed no shame at all. Lena even turned around and accused me of interrupting their fun. She said with conviction, "It's just a bit of fun, Stella, don't be so old-fashioned." Thinking of this, I sneered, "Since Lena thought it was just a bit of fun, then let everyone see it for the rest of their lives." Due to the special nature of this nighttime patrol, the school decided to promote it extensively. They specifically arranged for students from the student union's new media department to accompany the security team on the patrol, and the videos and photos taken could be used as promotional material. As a result, the scene of Lena and Jack running out of the abandoned cafeteria in disarray was clearly captured by the new media department's high-definition camera. Tonight is destined to be a sleepless night. Short videos featuring the two of them spread through student groups under various titles, including but not limited to, "Shocking, a man and a woman set foot in an abandoned cafeteria late at night, and it was actually for this reason." Explosive, the school bully and the department beauty actually did such a thing. Is it a distortion of human nature or a collapse of morality? Click the video quickly to find out. All the campus group chats are going crazy. My chat interface with my roommates is flooded, and many people I know are subtly trying to find out if this is really true, and it's not just them. The roommates watched the video in a daze, looking utterly bewildered. In the end, someone who enjoyed stirring up trouble shared it outside. Due to the explosive content of the video, it quickly climbed to the top of the local trending list. Although the two main characters were considerately blurred out, they were still easily recognizable. The school finally realized what was happening and began deleting the videos one by one, but it was too late. Screen recordings and screenshots had already spread everywhere. Jack and Lena became the laughingstock of their classmates, completely disgraced. This matter caused a huge uproar. Lena's parents, who lived far away in their hometown, somehow got wind of the news. He took the train overnight to get to the school and demanded that Jack and his father give his daughter an explanation. "Heavens above, my innocent daughter has been ruined by you all like this, and you call yourself a university professor. How did you raise your son? Now my daughter's reputation is ruined, and you must take responsibility. Lena isn't old enough to get married. then let's get engaged first, and the bride price money has to be given to us in advance, otherwise, I'll go to the education department and make a scene. I won't let you off the hook." Professors Jack and James had never encountered such shameless tactics before. They were worn out from dealing with it and found themselves in a real mess. As if one trouble wasn't enough, misfortunes never come singly. While the two families were bickering back and forth, Lena was found to be pregnant. This gave Duncan's parents even more confidence to stir up trouble. Every day, they were either holding banners at the school gate or posting videos online to make accusations. Professor James found it hard to defend himself, especially since it was Jack who had done wrong in the first place. In the end, he had no choice but to agree to the engagement. Everyone was there the day Lena returned to the dormitory to pack her things. Duncan's parents decided to keep the child and arranged for Lena to take a year off from school to give birth before continuing her studies. During this period, she stayed in the teacher's apartment on James' school campus to rest during her pregnancy. Given the previous video incident, everyone felt somewhat awkward. They simply stayed in bed, drew the curtains, and pretended not to see each other. Who knew Lena's mother would pull open everyone's curtains without any explanation and ask us to help Lena pack her things? What's wrong with classmates helping each other out? Lena is pregnant. If something happens to the baby, can you take responsibility? Besides, her father-in-law is a big professor at the university. Be careful, or he might make sure you don't graduate. There was not a trace of embarrassment or awkwardness on Lena's face. Instead, she lifted her chin and looked at us with pride and disdain. Clearly, she thought so too. Well, the Duncan family is a bunch of oddballs. Everyone had grievances they couldn't voice, silently helping Lena pack her things. After seeing their family off, all the roommates breathed a sigh of relief. And I threw myself into the intense final exam preparations. As for how Lena and Jack later turned on each other like dogs fighting, I didn't really care anymore. With Jack's prideful personality, after all this, would he really treat Lena well? When Lena married into the family and discovered that James's family wasn't the wealthy elite she thought, but merely an upper-middle-class household, would she truly be content? For the two of them, it's only a matter of time before things end in mutual destruction. But I never expected Mia to reach out to me on her own. That day, the counselor asked me to deliver the withdrawal documents to Lena. As I left the dorm, Mia approached me. She still had that delicate, aloof appearance, but her words made my heart sink. "Stella, I know your secret, let's talk." We met at a milk tea shop off campus. Mia held the steaming milk tea and smiled contentedly. "It's good to be alive." I quietly watched her without saying a word. In fact, when she didn't show up at Jack's birthday party on time, I had a vague suspicion that she had also been reborn. If I could figure her out, it wouldn't be difficult for her to figure me out as well. After all, we died together in our previous life. Lena resented me for not persuading her to report to the police, and she also resented Mia for having Jack's love and her blood. She not only tricked me into going to the cafeteria but also tied up Mia. How ridiculous! She had the courage to set a fire to kill us but lacked the nerve to confront her real enemy, Jack. I snapped back to reality, and Mia tilted her head to look at me. "Stella, can you help me? Let's work together to send both of them to hell. I don't need Lena's blood at all. It's absurd for her to claim she killed me. They are our common enemies, aren't they? I don't need you to do anything. Just help me pass a message to Lena." I didn't agree immediately. Instead, I first went to deliver the documents to Lena. After not seeing her for a month, Lena had clearly become haggard, with faint bruises on her wrists and face. It seemed Jack had drawn a lot of blood from her. She was emaciated, yet her pregnant belly protruded, making her look utterly terrifying. After receiving half of the bride price up front, Duncan's parents joyfully returned to their hometown, completely unconcerned about what their daughter might face alone here. Jack wasn't home. When Lena opened the door and saw it was me, she visibly relaxed. I handed her the documents and casually pointed to the needle marks of various sizes on her arm, asking, "What happened here?" Lena shrank back, not sure what came to mind, but she suddenly reached out and touched my face. She murmured, "Stella, how come I never noticed before that you're not bad looking?" I raised an eyebrow. What trick was she trying to pull now? Jack only has eyes for that bitch Mia. "Stella, please help me, among my friends. You're the only one who gets it. If you help me take Jack back from Mia, I'll share half of my wealth and glory with you from now on, okay, friends?" I almost laughed out loud. At this point, Lena still thinks I'm her friend and even wants me to flirt with Jack. How stupid and vicious. Thinking about Lena's dirty attempt to use me, I frowned in disgust. Mia is right. as long as Jack and Lena are alive, they remain a threat to us. Lena is on the verge of losing her mind. Who knows if she might kidnap me again over some trivial matter. There's no telling what a mad person might do. Thinking of this, I smiled and calmed her down, asking her to sit. We'll discuss these matters in detail later. But Lena, why are there so many needle marks on your arm? Lena's eyes lit up, thinking I would help her, and she said nonchalantly, "Oh, this, Jack said my blood type is rare, and he's worried I might hemorrhage during childbirth without a suitable blood supply, so he draws a little blood every now and then, just in case." Then she looked at me as if seeking confirmation. He's done so much for me, so he must still care about me deep down, right? I pretended to look troubled, hesitating to speak. "Lena, there's something I don't know if I should tell you." Lena immediately stared at me suspiciously. "What is it? Tell me quickly." I lowered my head and whispered softly, "I heard that Mia has the same blood type as you, and it seems she also fell ill. It's true that pregnant women can experience heavy bleeding during childbirth, but if Jack really cared about you, why didn't he look for other blood sources in advance? Isn't drawing blood during pregnancy even more harmful to the body? But these are just my speculations. Jack definitely loves you, so don't overthink it." Lena froze in place. After returning to the dorm, I sent a message to Mia. "I've done what you asked. Lena will probably come looking for you soon," Mia replied quickly. "Thank you. You don't need to worry about what comes next. I'll make sure they pay the price they deserve." After thinking for a moment, I couldn't help but ask, "No need to thank me. Helping you is helping myself. What exactly is your plan? Is there anything I can do to help?" Mia's plan was simple, yet dangerous. She would put herself in harm's way, luring Lena to kidnap her and take her to the abandoned cafeteria. Just like in her previous life, this time, however, she would notify Jack in advance, let them tear each other apart in the abandoned cafeteria, wait until some are dead and others injured, then call the police and send them all to prison. Mia smiled bitterly. "I really have no other choice. I can't spend the rest of my life living in the shadow of these two lunatics, can I?" I understood her, so I decided to help her, but Mia said that by hinting to Lena, I had already done her a huge favor and didn't need to do anything else. The day the plan was set in motion happened to be the anniversary of our deaths in our previous lives. Even though I knew Mia had everything well arranged, I still tossed and turned, unable to sleep. I kept worrying about Mia's safety in my heart. No one knew how much time had passed. A piercing siren suddenly blared across the quiet campus. A roommate was startled awake and asked groggily what had happened. I breathed a sigh of relief and fell into a deep sleep. The next day, several police officers came to us and asked detailed questions about Lena. That was when everyone learned about what had happened the night before. It was said that Lena had gone mad last night and nearly killed Mia. Jack intervened, and during their struggle, Lena lost a hand, while Jack suffered a shattered fracture in his lower body. Now both of them have been sent to the hospital for emergency treatment. Meanwhile, Mia, who had sensed something was wrong and called the police in advance, was not seriously injured. Thinking about how they had lived with a mad person for so long, the roommates were all filled with lingering fear. However, with the end of the semester approaching, everyone quickly put these thoughts aside and focused on their studies, and what awaits Jack and Lena will be the judgment of the law. Later, Professor James voluntarily resigned, turned gray overnight, and was never seen again. Mia and I met again in the study room. She smiled and handed me a cup of milk tea. "May we, with our vengeance achieved, have sweet dreams from now on." I nodded slightly and clinked glasses with her. "Have sweet dreams." After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. I was reborn back to the day I was 5 years old, the very day I was kidnapped by a human trafficker. The trafficker held a balloon in one hand and pulled my arm with the other, trying to force me into his car. My cousin Freya suddenly pushed me aside and looked at the trafficker with righteous determination. "I'll go with you." I couldn't help but sneer. She wanted to be abducted by human traffickers just like in my previous life, sold to a big city thousands of miles away, have wealthy adoptive parents, and live a life of endless luxury and indulgence in a new, glamorous world. But she had no idea what the next 20 years would bring. How I managed to survive through it all. In my previous life, Freya watched as I was taken by human traffickers but did nothing to save me. I was sold to a wealthy couple who couldn't have children, and she openly joined our family's household register, replacing me as my parents' dearest daughter. Later, the factory underwent reforms, and my parents lost their jobs, and life was no longer as good as before. But my parents still tried their best to meet all her needs, even sweeping the streets to support her through college. Yet 20 years later, when we met again, she belittled my parents as worthless. "You have no idea what kind of life I've been living. No air conditioning in the summer, no heating in the winter. One winter, we almost got carbon monoxide poisoning from lighting the stove. They're not like they were when you were a child. They're so stingy now, even hesitating for a long time before buying a piece of meat." A talent scout approached me about shooting an advertisement, but they absolutely refused, saying that industry is too shady and a girl could easily get taken advantage of. "I think they're just afraid that if I do well, I'll leave them behind," although she complained like this. Her delicate skin and clean, neat clothes didn't seem to suggest she had suffered much hardship. "How about introducing me to your adoptive parents? Even if I could just get a minor role in the entertainment industry, that would be enough." Hearing her say she wanted to meet my adoptive parents, I felt a chill in my heart and immediately shook my head to refuse her. I couldn't let her fall into the hands of those wolves and tigers. But I never expected that she would hold a grudge against me because of this. On the day I won the Best Actress award, she rushed to my van and grabbed me just as I was about to get in. A white blade went in, a red blade came out. I collapsed in a pool of blood, my heart no longer beating, until the moment I died. I couldn't understand. After her parents died unexpectedly and she had no one to care for her, it was my parents who took her into our home. Whenever I have something delicious or fun, I give it to her first. When her friends mocked her for having no parents, I immediately jumped in to fight them. I treated her so well, so how did it lead to her repeatedly trying to kill me? I thought I would never have the chance to get my revenge, but I was reborn. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day I was kidnapped by a human trafficker at the age of 5. Freya grabbed the trafficker's arm tightly and pushed me to the ground. "I'll go with you. I promise I won't cry or make a fuss. Taking her with you is just asking for trouble. She's frail and sickly, with a weak heart. If you kidnap her, she might die of fright the very next day. Then not only will you fail to make the deal, but you'll also be charged with murder. Take me alone, and I can help you get more money." Looking at the scene before me, I couldn't believe my eyes and glanced around in disbelief. 7-year-old Freya, the balloon-selling trafficker, and the blue dolphin helium balloon in my hand. This scene, which had jolted me awake countless times in the dead of night, was now unfolding right before my eyes. I reached up and touched the twin tails on my head, then pinched my own arm. It hurt. I have been reborn, and I had been reborn on the very day I was kidnapped by human traffickers in my previous life. In my previous life, Freya took me to the park to play. She got into an argument with another girl over a doll, and I was drawn to a balloon seller. Just as I took a hydrogen balloon from his hand, he grabbed me and started dragging me toward a nearby car. "Sister, save me," I screamed desperately toward Freya, who was not far away. She dropped the doll in her hand and ran a few steps in my direction, but then suddenly stopped in her tracks. Even as I was shoved into the car by the kidnapper, she didn't take another step. The kidnapper took me to a bustling city I had never seen before and sold me to a wealthy family for 20,000 yuan. From then on, my life was filled only with molestation, beatings, and imprisonment. I never again felt even the slightest warmth in this world. Watching Freya, who was so determined to follow the human trafficker, I couldn't help but let out a cold snort. Since she wanted to live the life I once had, would do everything in my power to help her achieve it. Seeing the human trafficker's hesitation in their eyes, I quickly pretended to have a heart attack, clutching my chest and lying on the ground. "I think I'm having a heart attack. Please help me, take me to the hospital." Freya was momentarily stunned as she looked at me on the ground. She probably didn't expect me to play along with her act, but with such a perfect opportunity right in front of her, she couldn't let it slip away. She took the opportunity to add fuel to the fire. The doctor said during the last checkup that if she has another episode, she'll need a heart transplant, otherwise she won't live more than a month. Upon hearing this, the trafficker only pushed Freya into the car. Before the car started, he spat at me and said, "What a fucking jinx." Freya sat in the back of the car, waving at me triumphantly. I hummed a tune as I got up from the ground, brushing the dust off my clothes with a look of disdain, rushing headlong into a pit of fire. She was the first one to do so. Soon enough, she would learn that her seemingly kind and gentle adoptive parents were actually involved in shady dealings and had treated me with extreme cruelty. They treated me like a free servant, making me clean the house, do chores, serve them tea and water. When my adoptive father came home drunk, he would make advances toward me, and if I resisted, I would be severely beaten. When I grew a bit older, I tried to run away. But they caught me and locked me in a secret room for several days and nights without food or water. At 18, I became a tool for making money, completely at their mercy, sent to the beds of one strange older man after another. In my past life, I couldn't escape. After Freya went missing, my parents placed newspaper ads and put up missing person posters for a long time, but in the end, they couldn't even find a trace of Freya. At that time, the surveillance system was not well developed. And in our small county town, there was no such thing as surveillance cameras. As time passed, they eventually gave up. As for me, from that day on, I would cry and fuss from time to time, making my parents think I was traumatized. Maybe we should move. A change of environment might be good for Wendy's illness. At night, my dad and mom sat in the living room, with only a dim floor lamp lit. My mom glanced in the direction of my room, silently nodding as tears streamed down her face. A week later, we moved. Before leaving, I threw the only photo of Freya in the house onto the floor. The movers stepped on it several times while carrying things back and forth. Looking at her distorted and deformed face, I felt quite pleased. Freya, I hope you can still smile this happily 20 years from now. In my previous life, after I went missing, under Freya's persuasion, my parents also moved away with her. Not only did they quickly give up looking for me, but they also poured all their love onto Freya. They worked hard to nurture her and gave her everything she wanted. 20 years later, I found Freya. Freya looked guilty as she held my hand and said, "Back then, I was so scared that I froze. I didn't mean to not save you. I'm just glad you're back." When I was little, my parents were even willing to sell their blood just to buy me a piano. They treated me, an adopted daughter, so well. They'll surely treat you even better. I sat with her in their cozy home, filled with anticipation, waiting to reunite with my biological parents, but when they returned home, they looked at me as if I were a stranger. They simply refused to acknowledge me. My father pushed me out the door. "My daughter died long ago. Stop trying to scam money." I was in agony, but I didn't dare go to the police. Under the guidance of my adoptive parents, I ended up getting involved in shady dealings just like them. If I went to the police, I would be signing my own death warrant. I felt abandoned by the whole world, so I obediently returned to my adoptive parents. I went back to my old ways. Blood ties are just a nice-sounding phrase, nothing more. After moving, we rented a place outside, and my parents made a living by doing odd jobs for others. Life was tough, but I truly felt what it means to be happy as a human being. Later, my parents borrowed money to open a small shop. My father was exceptionally skilled at making noodles, and my mother was hardworking and kept everything clean. We got along well with the neighbors, and gradually, the number of regular customers in the shop increased. Our tight financial situation slowly began to ease. When I was 15, I rushed home excitedly and insisted that my father watch the news. "Dad, let's join this platform and start doing takeout too." At first, my dad was completely against the idea, but he couldn't resist my constant persuasion. Eventually, he registered for an online delivery service and started the online sales model. Later, the business at our shop grew better and better, with chain stores spreading to every corner of the city. Our family even established our own factory, which not only supported dine-in and takeout services but also allowed customers to buy finished products to process at home. In no time, the Hudson family became one of the top wealthy merchants. With more money and a wider social circle, I naturally met more people. I never expected that my efforts to change my family's life would also bring my reunion with Freya forward by 2 years. Our company was looking for a spokesperson to endorse our new product, and the PR agency had shortlisted some female celebrities who matched our brand image, scheduling their final round of interviews for today. As soon as the conference room door opened, Freya immediately sprang up from her chair. "Why are you here?" Her face showed shock and astonishment, fleeting in an instant. I glanced at her coldly and ignored her. "She is the spokesperson for the Hudson family. Whether you can secure this endorsement today depends entirely on her." Freya's agent pulled her aside. Although she found it unbelievable, she had to put on a show due to the many people in the room. She bowed apologetically toward me and slowly sat back down. "Sorry, I mistook you for someone else." I glanced at her disdainfully, then turned to my assistant and said calmly, "Let's start with her." Then, she glanced sideways at her agent and said, "Didn't you say it was just a formality? What's the meaning of this now? Do you want me to perform for her?" Freya pointed at me, her face full of indignation. I kept my head down, looking at her resume without even lifting my eyes. "If you're not willing, then next." "Fine. I'm leaving. Who wants your lousy endorsement anyway?" Freya grabbed her bag, kicked the stool in front of her, and stormed out. Her agent hurried after her, trying to calm her down. For heaven's sake, calm down. If you don't get the money for your parents, you'll still have to. Freya suddenly stopped in her tracks, turning around to glare fiercely at her agent. What else is there? It's just sleeping with the man they specified. I've been doing this for so many years. What's one more? Claude is no ordinary man, his perversion is well known. How many girls in the industry have been played to the brink of death by him? Freya, I'm afraid you might go in alive but not come out. Nonsense. Claude is not that kind of person. In her previous life, she had seen the news about me and Claude, all about how he proposed to me, how we appeared together everywhere, sweet and loving. Don't worry, I'm confident I can win him over. No, you absolutely have to fight for this endorsement. Seeing her ready to back out, her agent became anxious. Why not? I signed a bet with someone. If you don't secure this endorsement, the bet will be lost, and you'll be blacklisted. If you can't make money, your parents won't let you off the hook. Freya looked at me through the glass of the meeting room. I also openly met her gaze. Freya, are you now experiencing how heaven and hell are just a thought apart? I glanced at the 3 remaining girls in the room. Just her. I pointed at Rose, who was sitting quietly in the corner with her head bowed, looking very nervous. Are you sure? The assistant was a bit surprised. This Rose is a newcomer who just debuted, with no resources, no background, and no works or fame. She's a genuine triple threat in the worst way. Seeing that I had no intention of changing my mind, he leaned in and cautiously reminded me, boss, aside from a silly web series that might never even air, she has no other works. Are you really going to use her? I stood up and stared at the assistant for 3 seconds. And he quickly stepped aside to make way for me. I'll arrange to sign a 1-year contract right away. My hand on the doorknob paused, and I turned to glance at Rose. 5 years. Rose looked at me with tears in her eyes, and I gave her a faint smile. Hang in there. I thought Freya had already left, but I didn't expect her to block me at the door right after I stepped out of the meeting room. Do you think I can't survive without taking this advertisement? I didn't want to waste my breath arguing with her and tried to leave, but she blocked my way. Wendy, you recognized who I am, didn't you? I pretended to ponder. Sorry, I still can't recall. You might have mistaken me for someone else. She grabbed my wrist tightly. Wendy, stop playing dumb here. You're the one who had the traffickers take me away. I let out a light laugh and shook off her hand. You are truly ridiculous. Back then, you were the one who begged to be taken away. Have you forgotten? I looked at her with a smile at the corner of my mouth. How has your life of luxury been treating you? Are you still comfortable living in that pitch-dark secret room? Upon hearing my words, her entire body trembled, and then she glared at me with reddened eyes. You've been reborn too, haven't you? I smiled without saying a word. She suddenly became agitated, grabbed my neck with both hands, and pushed me against the wall. You knew they would torture me. Make me accompany those disgusting old men. Why did you do this to me? I was being choked to the point of suffocation, but the smile at the corner of my mouth never faded. Didn't you do the same to me in our past life? Her hands suddenly lost their strength. She staggered back a few steps. A flash of guilt passed through her, followed by her ferocious expression. You have to give me this endorsement. You owe me. I almost laughed out loud. How could she have the nerve to say that I owed her? I didn't want to argue with her any further and turned to leave, but she started screaming hysterically behind me. If you don't give it to me, I'll go ask Mom and Dad for it. They'll definitely give it to me. I dug at my ear. Mom and Dad. Your parents have been dead for a long time. How are you going to ask them? Go underground and ask them. My parents in my past life were willing to sell their blood for me. In this life, they won't abandon me either. She shoved past me and strode away, disappearing around the corner of the hallway. I smoothed out the wrinkles on my suit jacket. I want to see how a dead person like her can make my parents accept her again. The commercial shoot went very smoothly. Rose is a dedicated girl, and she performed every expression and line perfectly. After the shoot, the director couldn't stop praising her, but there wasn't much buzz in the week after the ad was launched. After all, Rose really isn't that famous. Maybe we should ask Freya to fix this. Her reputation in the industry isn't great, but she's still somewhat popular with the audience. The assistant tried to persuade me again, holding the ad performance data. But before he could finish, the marketing director excitedly burst into my office. Boss, we've hit the jackpot. This time, we've really hit the jackpot. He projected the tablet in his hand onto the TV in my office. The web series starring Rose suddenly dropped out of nowhere and went viral. Our product, as her exclusive endorsement, sold out instantly, and now our phones are ringing off the hook with distributors. the marketing director excitedly paced back and forth in my office. While the assistant gaped and gave me a thumbs up. "Boss, you're amazing," I calmly kicked both of them out. I had known this outcome all along. I actually played a part in this drama's sudden release. In fact, in her previous life, Rose became famous through this low-budget web series. Because the plot was absurd and unconventional enough, she skyrocketed to fame overnight, with her sweet appearance, funny and cheerful personality, and solid acting skills. She quickly became a household name and a guarantee for TV ratings. Another reason I promoted her was to use her to suppress Freya and completely end her reign as the top star in the industry. I will take all her resources and give them to Rose. I single-handedly elevated her to the top, to the point that the industry is buzzing with rumors that I'm in a same-sex relationship with her and that Rose is being kept by me. I don't shy away from these baseless rumors either, as they are actually beneficial for Rose. With this protective shield, no one dares to mess with her easily. Consider it a bit of compensation for my using her. Later, as we interacted more and more, we found that our personalities clicked, and we gradually became good friends. I had just picked up my parents from the airport after their trip and was driving out of the parking lot when suddenly a figure darted in front of the car. I slammed on the brakes, nearly throwing my mom, who was sitting in the back seat, forward. My mom was still shaken when loud banging sounds came from the back door. "Mom, Dad, it's me, I'm Freya." I got out of the car and pulled her away. "Stop knocking, leave while I'm still being nice." When she saw my parents get out of the car, she ignored me and went straight to grab my mom's hand. "Mom, it's Freya, I'm back." My mom hadn't yet recovered from the earlier shock, and with this sudden grab, she was so terrified she could hardly look directly at her. "Freya died long ago. What are you trying to do by impersonating her?" My dad scolded her coldly, shielding my mom behind him. "Dad, don't you recognize me anymore?" Freya's eyes were filled with despair. "I'm your daughter. You used to dote on me and love me so much. How can you not recognize me now?" Tears welled up in her eyes and streamed down her face as she spoke. "My sister died long ago. I was the one who paid for her tombstone." I calmly and unhurriedly recounted the lie I had fabricated back then. I knew that one day Freya would come to find my parents and acknowledge them, so 2 years ago, I hired a rural couple to put on a show and fabricated a lie, claiming that Freya had been adopted by that couple and unfortunately died in an earthquake. Later, I gave that couple a sum of money to erect an empty tombstone next to Freya's biological parents' graves. Only then did my parents truly let go of their guilt toward Freya. Freya's eyes turned sinister as she listened, biting her lip tightly while staring at me, looking as if she would tear me apart the next second. I didn't know what she was so angry about. I had merely reenacted her past life tricks in this life. With a little improvisation, she rushed at me like a madwoman, grabbing my arms and shaking them incessantly. "It's you. You took everything from me." Slap. A loud slap echoed beside me. My mother actually slapped her, in my previous life. My mother held her in the palm of her hand, afraid she might melt, but in this life, she could slap her without any mercy. Freya covered her red and swollen face, momentarily stunned. "Mom, you hit me. Don't call me Mom. I only have one daughter. If you're sick, go to a mental hospital. If you hurt my daughter again, I'll fight you with my life." Looking at my mother's angry expression, I felt a little like forgiving her, even though in my past life she ignored me. In this life she has truly been good to me. The three of us left amidst Freya's cursing, and even after walking some distance, we could still hear her hysterical screams. "Just wait, I'll make you regret this." Whether we'll regret it or not, I don't know, but she definitely regrets going to Claude. This so-called backer isn't as simple as she thought. Freya walked out of Claude's villa covered in bruises and was caught red-handed by the paparazzi, in no time. She dominated all the trending searches and gossip headlines. Everyone knew Freya was selling herself. Rose, wearing a high-slit black backless dress, sat with Claude in the club, drinking and watching the trending topics, satisfied. "This paparazzi is no good, the angle is all wrong, you can't even see the injuries on his face." I crossed my legs, deliberately letting the tip of my foot brush lightly against his leg. In my past life, Claude toyed with me until I was half dead. Although Rose doesn't know the specifics of my grudge against Claude in this life, she offered to help me out of gratitude. In my past life, my adoptive parents became addicted to gambling and racked up a huge debt at Claude's casino. Unable to pay it off, they set their sights on me again. They had me cleaned up and wrapped like a candy, then delivered me to Claude. I begged my adoptive parents in tears, saying anyone but Claude, that beast, but they wouldn't listen. They locked me on the hotel bed, and I was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered, tortured by Claude until I was covered in wounds. Damn it, you lied to me saying you were a virgin, but you're just a worthless slut. Afterwards, he casually grabbed a whip and lashed me twice, striking me hard. He tortured me until I was nearly unconscious, and covered in wounds. I couldn't even tell where the pain was coming from. Later, my adoptive parents lost even more heavily, and I was tortured by him again and again. As time went by, Claude seemed to develop a trace of pity for me. He spent money to elevate my status, invested in the TV dramas and movies I starred in, and even gave me face in front of others. As long as I didn't anger him, he would affectionately call me baby, but every time the night fell after filming Wrapped, I would feel afraid. His methods of torment were endless, and the louder I screamed, the harder he would strike. If I stayed silent, he would get angry and hit me even more fiercely, until that day, he climbed on top of me, grabbed my neck, and said, "I'm going to kill you." I struggled desperately, and in the chaos, I grabbed a hard object from the bedside and smashed it against his head. He covered his head and collapsed beside me, blood streaming down his face. I panicked, hurriedly put on my clothes to run, but was afraid he might actually bleed to death there. I mustered up the courage to run back, wrapped his wound with a towel, and wiped the blood off his face. During those years of torment from my adoptive parents, I didn't learn many other skills, but my ability to self-rescue and bandage wounds improved day by day. The bleeding stopped, and he leaned against the headboard, half lying on the bed. "You've got some nerve," he said, not with anger but with a laugh. I stood by the bed trembling all over, my mouth opening and closing but unable to make a sound. "From now on, I'll protect you. If anyone dares to bully you again, I'll kill them." It was only then that I realized he had a masochistic streak, and it was from that moment on that I freed myself from his beatings and turned him into my devoted follower. But Freya knew nothing of this in her past life. Rose, wearing headphones, followed my instructions and extended her finger, gently tracing it over the back of his hand. Then deliberately pressing harder to leave 2 bloody marks on his arm, Claude licked the wound with his tongue, a smile playing at the corner of his mouth. Not satisfied, Rose pretended to be angry. "She could just walk out of your house on her own, and I'm a little unhappy about that. That's easy to fix." Claude was completely captivated by Rose, and as he spoke, he called Freya's adoptive parents. "Bring that bitch to my club now." Not knowing what was said on the other end of the phone, Claude flew into a rage. "Damn it, I told you to bring it over. Stop with the nonsense. If she can't get up, let her crawl." Rose deliberately put on a frightened expression, her eyebrows furrowed, and her whole body shrank into a ball. Seeing Rose's fear, he immediately changed his attitude, grinning as he placed his hand on her shoulder. Rose trembled, and he quickly withdrew his hand, not daring to touch her again. "Darling, I scared you, didn't I? I deserve to die. I deserve to die." He slapped himself a few times. Rose took a sip of wine, pouted at him, and coquettishly said, "What's this? The sound isn't even loud at all." Clap, clap, clap. He suddenly increased his force, and seeing that Rose still wasn't smiling, he even called over his trusted aide. "Carter, hit me hard." Carter looked at him but didn't dare to make a move. How boring. Rose stood up, grabbed her purse, and was about to leave when she heard a sharp slap from behind. The sound was so loud it echoed through the room, startling me even on the phone. Carter really went all out. I wonder if his eardrum was ruptured. "Damn you, hitting so hard." Claude watched as his subordinate raised a fist. Seeing this, Rose giggled uncontrollably. Seeing her laugh, Claude lost his temper and, bending over with a smile, moved closer to Rose. "Freya's show hasn't even started yet. Don't be in such a hurry to leave." "Oh right, I forgot, there's still a good show about to begin." Freya was brought to the club by her adoptive parents. When I saw them come in, I hid in the inner room. "Claude, I've brought the person you asked for. Now, about the money. As long as she makes me feel good today, I'll lend you another 5 million. When they heard 5 million, Freya's adoptive parents' eyes lit up. They threw Freya onto the sofa and left, completely disregarding her well-being. "I have an appointment to get to. Do as you please." Rose hid the eavesdropping device in the room and then walked out. Inside the room, Freya curled up on the sofa, her eyes filled with terror and despair. "I won't scream or shout. Can you please not hit me?" she begged him, unaware that Claude's favorite thing was the sight of a woman crying and screaming. If she didn't scream or shout, how could Claude be happy? 2 slapping sounds came through the headphones. "What the hell gives you the right to negotiate with me?" Claude really never holds back when it comes to hitting women. An hour later, she was taken away by an ambulance. The paparazzo I know got this exclusive and couldn't stop grinning. The next day, when I went to the hospital to visit Freya with flowers and fruits, her adoptive parents happened to be there. Sister, I finally found you. I threw myself onto the bed, hugging Freya and crying. Her vocal cords were damaged, leaving her unable to speak, even though she resisted with her entire body. She was covered in injuries and lay on the bed, unable to move. I truly thank you for taking care of my sister all these years. I wiped away my tears and took a card out of my pocket to give to her adoptive parents. There is 2 million in here. It's a small token of our family's appreciation. We hope you'll accept it. As soon as they heard the compensation was only 2 million, the two of them immediately gave me a displeased look. Freya's adoptive mother rolled her eyes at me. 2 million. Are you trying to treat us like beggars? I pretended to be in a difficult position. This is all the cash our family could gather. That's fine too. I'll take this for now, and you can owe me the rest. Freya's adoptive father tucked the card into his pocket, but before it could even warm up, Freya's adoptive mother snatched it away. I don't trust it with you. I'm the one who doesn't trust it with you. The two of them fought over the card right in front of me, while I stood by enjoying the spectacle like watching a couple of clowns. Just as they were about to come to blows, their faces flushed with anger, I stepped in to mediate. I closed the door of the ward and cautiously called out to them, "Don't argue, you two. Although I don't have money, I have a batch of goods. If I manage to get out, I can give you half of the money. How much is there?" I held up a finger. 10 million. Freya's adoptive mother covered her mouth in surprise, afraid her voice would be too loud and others might hear. Greed was written all over Freya's adoptive father's face. He rubbed his hands together a few times, sniffled, as if he were about to drool. I held back my disgust and told them the location for picking up the scattered goods. The next evening, the two of them showed up on time at the spot where I had left the goods, but they didn't take the goods to the designated location as agreed. This was something I had anticipated from the start, and what was in that bag wasn't any smuggled goods at all. They are distributing goods in the venue. Claude's trusted aide Carter whispered in my ear, making it tickle. I cupped his face and planted a kiss on it. It's not good if someone sees this. His face instantly turned as red as a ripe apple. I stood up in front of Carter, placed his hands on my waist, tilted my head up, and pressed another kiss on his lips. I don't care, I need to recharge my energy. I playfully pecked his lips twice more. After a brief pause, he lifted me up and began to respond to me passionately. It was a long time before he reluctantly let me go. We still have serious matters to attend to. Be good. He returned to the club, while I went to the convenience store across the street. Sitting in front of the computer and watching every move in Claude's room, Carter knocked on Claude's door and placed the previously hidden black handbag on the table. The missing batch of goods has been found. Claude was still a bit dazed, but hearing this immediately perked up. He slammed his hand on the table. Who the hell dares to mess with my goods? I'll throw them into the sea to feed the fish. Claude had Freya's adoptive parents brought in. The two knelt before Claude, continuously kowtowing and begging for mercy. "We really didn't know it was your goods. Please be merciful and let us go. We'll give you all the money we've earned." Claude opened the bag and found that nearly half of its contents were missing. Without bothering to listen to their explanations, he ordered his men to give the couple a severe beating, make them disappear. Claude, still not completely sober, slumped onto the sofa and closed his eyes to rest. I watched with immense satisfaction as Freya's adoptive parents were dragged out like dead dogs by Claude's men. After 2 screams, they were thrown into the sea with sacks and stones tied to them. I closed my laptop and ran to the entrance of the club to pick up Carter. We walked hand in hand along the road, with the sound of police sirens echoing one after another behind us. Carter pulled me into his arms, and I nuzzled my head against his chest. All of this was finally over. Claude was sentenced to death for smuggling and counterfeiting on a massive scale. Freya's adoptive parents were rescued in time and imprisoned, likely for the rest of their lives. Freya, who had repeatedly helped Claude distribute goods, feigned madness to evade responsibility and was sent to a mental hospital. When I saw her again, she was disheveled, with vacant eyes, crouching in a corner and talking to herself, but when she saw me, she suddenly seemed to snap back to reality, grabbing a nearby lamp and hurling it at me. If Carter hadn't pulled me into his arms in time, I might have been seriously injured by her. "How could you be so careless?" Carter gently stroked my hair, his tone both doting and tender. I was almost completely melted by his gentleness. Freya looked at everything before her as if waking from a dream. I remember now, in our past life, he was always by Claude's side, wasn't he? Yes. But it was too late for her to remember all of this. In my past life, I was tormented by Claude to the brink of collapse, but Carter warmed my heart. He always quietly stayed by my side, helped me tend to my wounds, and told me that one must have hope. My dark world finally had a crack because of him, and the moment sunlight streamed in, I finally found the will to live. But in my previous life, I wasn't worthy of being with him. After being reborn, as soon as our family's situation improved, I managed to persuade my parents to go to the orphanage. I recognized him at a glance, sitting in the very last row of the room. "Dad, it's him. From now on, he will be my husband. I want him to be my child groom." The director smiled and said, "Your daughter has good taste. Carter is the most well-behaved and the best student among the children in our care." I held his hand and insisted on taking him home. My own husband should be trained from a young age. I sat on the ground crying uncontrollably, while my dad and mom spent a long time trying to persuade Carter, saying he was my brother, and he reluctantly agreed. Sitting in the car, I held Carter's hand and rubbed my face against his arm over and over. I wanted to burrow into his arms like a little kitten, quietly letting him stroke my head. In my past life, he used to touch me just like this long-lost feeling. I miss it so much. Carter didn't refuse. He turned his face toward the window, a smile curling at the corners of his mouth, and the tips of his ears flushed with a faint pink. I know, he likes me. After graduating from college, Carter became a police officer but was quickly fired and ended up working for Claude. We had a huge argument. Back then, I found him to prevent him from repeating the mistakes of his past life, but in the end, I still failed. At that time, I never understood why I could change everyone else's fate but not his. It wasn't until he nearly lost his life taking a stab for Claude to become his right-hand man that he finally told me the truth. It turned out he was an undercover agent sent by the police, with the goal of gathering more evidence against Claude and dismantling his criminal operation, and since I was seeking revenge, it was only natural for me to cooperate with him behind the scenes. He resumed his identity as a police officer, and I finally stepped out of the shadows of my past life. 5 months later, Carter knelt on one knee, holding up the ring, and looked at me. Does the child groom arrangement still count? After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.